This is Optimal Startup Daily, episode 821, Choosing the Appropriate Leadership Style, and the Tetris Effect, both by Douglas Lang of altris.co.nz. And I'm Dan, your host and narrator. As always, I'm with you to help you improve your business life. And if you by chance have any ideas for future shows, or maybe you have an author you'd love to hear us narrate here, you can reach out to us via oldpodcast.com. That's oldpodcast.com. But right now, we're going to jump right into our two posts from Douglas Lang as we optimize your life. Choosing the Appropriate Leadership Style by Douglas Lang of altris.co.nz. Leadership tools and models may come and go, but there are a few old faithfuls that hang around and still make sense when I share them with participants on our development programs or in one-on-one coaching. One of these is the situational leadership model, originally created by Hersey and Blanchard. Most of you will be familiar with the model, which suggests that there is no single best style of leadership. The most successful leaders are those that adapt their leadership style to the maturity in terms of experience and skill level of the individual or group in the particular situation in question they are attempting to lead or influence. A couple of key things that seem to resonate with my clients when we talk about the model are: 1. The fact that we all have a natural style of leadership, which may or may not be appropriate given the specific situation we are looking to lead. As an example, I explain that I am not particularly good at telling people what to do, which is the appropriate leadership style to use for individuals who have no or very little experience in a particular task or activity. As a result, when I was leading a team in a past life, I often ended up in a situation where I would be having a coaching-style conversation, my default or natural leadership style, with someone who didn't have the experience or knowledge to be able to work through their thinking with me. And we'd both end up feeling a bit frustrated and ineffective. What would have been much more effective in this situation would have been to recognize the comparative immaturity of the individual and to take a more directive or tell approach. And 2. The assumption that just because someone has been in the team for a while and can have a number of activities fully delegated to them, they will automatically be able to pick up new tasks without much in the way of direction or support. What often happens in this situation is that we move from being overly directive straight to being fully delegative in our approach, rather than using the coaching and supportive styles. This often results in not getting back what we were hoping for, and the temptation to decide that this delegation thing isn't working, and taking the job back to do ourselves. The model is called situational for a reason, so it's important to consider the individual's level of maturity each time we are looking for them to do something for us. It can be useful to have an open conversation with the individual about the piece of work and jointly consider where they are on the maturity experience scale in relation to the task, and, based on that, to agree on the most appropriate style of leadership. The next time you have a task to assign to one of your team, I recommend that you pause for a moment and consider what the most appropriate style of leadership might be. The situational leadership model is an oldie but goodie when it comes to providing a way of thinking this through. The Tetris Effect, also by Douglas Lang of altris.co.nz. I have recently finished rereading The Happiness Advantage by Shawn Achor. In the book, he talks about a number of ways to improve your performance at work based on positive psychology principles. One of the areas that Achor discusses in the book is what he calls the Tetris Effect. Tetris is an addictive computer game that requires the player to find ways to move falling shapes in such a way as to create an unbroken horizontal line, which then disappears. Research has shown that after playing a game such as Tetris for an extended period, the player's brain undergoes a change through the creation of new neural pathways tuned to playing Tetris and spotting patterns. As a result, they start to imagine moving objects and shapes in real life, so accustomed have they become to doing this in the Tetris game. The point Achor is making is that if we focus on a particular activity or way of thinking over a period of time, our brains become wired in that direction. He talks about the fact that people whose job role requires them to identify problems or flaws and mistakes on a regular basis will start to do this in their non-job roles too. Examples would be roles such as lawyers, who are looking for the flaws in an opposing lawyer's argument, auditors, looking for errors or omissions in financial accounts, and IT professionals, testing for errors in computer programs. These are all examples of the kind of roles in which, through applying a particular way of thinking, which is very necessary for the role these people perform, people start to think differently about other elements of their lives. In this way, Aker argues, people can become quite negative in their thinking, looking for the things that are not working rather than noticing the things that are. It can also lead to people overestimating the significance of problems and issues they face day to day. At the extreme, this kind of thinking can ultimately lead to anxiety, distress, and depression. The good news is that in the same way that the Tetris effect can cause people to look for the negatives, our brains can also be rewired to look for the positives. Making a conscious decision to start to notice the good things that are happening around us, to look for and acknowledge good performance in our team members, to choose to expect things to work out well, are all examples of what Aker terms a positive Tetris effect. A couple of practical ways of changing your focus to become more positive include every day to simply list out 3 good things that happened that day, and every day to write down 5 things you are grateful for in your life and work. Through doing these exercises, we are rewiring our brains to start to notice good things rather than always noticing the errors and bad things. As with all changes, for the change to stick, you have to practice it. Do not expect to change your perspective overnight. You will need to practice long enough to allow new neural pathways to form. However, along the way, you are likely to start to notice an increasing sense of optimism and clarity, which will hopefully keep you on track to create a positive Tetris effect. You just listened to the posts titled Choosing the Appropriate Leadership Style and the Tetris Effect, both by Douglas Lang of altris.co.nz. And thanks to Douglas and the team at Altris, Altris is all about releasing potential within teams and their leaders to deliver sustainable results for organizations. They specialize in leadership development and executive coaching, and Douglas, who you heard from today, has over 15 years of experience in project and team management in a top company, working in organization development and information technology. He has operated in various senior roles with responsibility for up to 70 people. So thank you to Douglas for his wisdom and for letting us share his work. And please do come by altris.co.nz to learn a lot more. But that's going to do it for today. I thank you for being here with me as always. And I'll be back here with you tomorrow where your optimal life awaits.